day 4 of 5, we're going to talk about the daily shared writing routine. And I'm going to model for you how to teach it. Yesterday, we talked about sentence level transcription. That was around teaching children to put words on the page. Today, we're going to talk about how do we build oral language structures? How do we engage children with thinking about text, having partner talk, doing all those great things? Now, you might finish this routine by having the children actually write, but if they're not up to that, if they're little in that foundation year, then it's perfectly fine to leave it at an oral activity. You might also leave it at an oral activity in other grades, year 1, 2, and beyond, depending on how much time you have or the purpose of what it is you want to do. So it's called shared daily writing, and either you are writing with the children helping you, or you're doing that and then they're writing themselves. It's completely up to you. You make it work for you. The critical element here is the joint construction nature of what I'm about to show you. So let's get straight into it. All right. So in the literacy block, I've just popped it there. As I said in the last clip, you arrange things to suit yourself and your students in your classroom. Now, I love this version of the explicit teaching model. It is from the Northern Territory Department of Education. I didn't make this one up. So thank you to our wonderful colleagues in the NT who put this together. The gradual release of responsibility is not new to any of us, nor is that explicit teaching, I do, we do, you do. One of the reasons I love this is that it really highlights this need for supported practice and joint construction. So typically the way we would do a joint construction in our classrooms is that you would say, we're going to write a story, and who knows where we should set our story. And, 3 kids put their hand up out of 25, and you ask one and they tell you, and you go, right, well, let's do it here. And you show them what doing on the board, and the others are sitting there picking the carpet and not really involved. So I really want to show you how this joint construction can provide the support and scaffolding to involve every single child in the task. And then supported practice. It's so important that we don't just go, we've done a joint construction, now go and do it on your own. That we have different levels of scaffolding for different amounts of time for different children. We'll just make it all easy, shall we? But that's what's needed, and being really intimately aware of where each child is up to and what they can do on their own versus what they can do with support is really, really critical. So we're going to look firmly at that joint construction today. And so the shared writing sits in that I do, you help, but the helping is not 1 or 2 children helping. The helping is everybody helping. And so we'll have a look at the routine now, but actually in a sec. The benefit of this shared writing routine is that it's an opportunity to share your thought processes, to give the children a glimpse into the mind of a proficient writer. Nothing new there. We've been talking about that for a billion years. It reinforces oral sentences. So when we're looking at writing, everything needs to be oral first. Remember, I said in a previous clip, if you can't say it, you can't read it or write it. Enable students to talk with each other. We don't give kids nearly enough time talking about their learning. They talk about what they did at recess or on the weekend, and we do a lot of talking. We do way too much talking, but giving the children the chance to actually articulate and be active in their talk is great. And we're going to reinforce segmenting. So thinking about how do we embed the phonemic skills, we're embedding segmenting here in this routine. It also is a way to teach and model writing conventions. So you will explicitly teach or model and deconstruct, thinking back to our explicit teaching model, but then we need to teach it in the context as well. And I'll show you how to do that. I've got a book here to demonstrate how you might choose what to write about. The other benefit is you can revise previously learned material. So just like that sentence transcription routine, this one can be used right across the curriculum, in your science lesson, in your HASS lesson, in your PE lesson, wherever it happens to come. Having this embedded embeds writing and talking and building vocabulary competency throughout your whole curriculum. Here's the routine. 8 steps seems like a lot. The first one is just display a picture, and I'm going to model this to you. So you'll display a picture. Now, the writing revolution talks about having your writing lesson contain knowledge building. And I think that that's a great thing to do. I would encourage you to be mindful of how new the information is. If you're wanting children to use complex language and vocabulary around science or HASS, and they've only just started to learn this stuff, probably not the best thing to do if you're also wanting to have them think deeply about sentence structures. So be really clear and make sure that the picture that you choose, or the target content that you're choosing, is sitting in the realm that children are familiar enough with it to talk about conversationally, and so that you're not overloading them. You then model the language, and I'll show you what that looks like. So doing a think out loud. Then you're going to ask the students to talk to each other. So talk with your partner. And this is where you get to provide that extra support for those children who might struggle in this area. Now, when it comes to student talk, I would encourage you to have a stronger language user and a weaker language user sitting together. Students share, so you call on 3 or 4 non-volunteers. There are no hands up here. Then you do the oral sentence construction. And so you take the fragments of ideas from the various children and you put them together in a sentence. Then you, my turn, your turn, I say, you say, with this oral sentence, and then you do a joint construction before reading the sentence together on the board. Remember, you can take it further and have the children write afterwards, but that's completely up to you. If you don't do that, it's fine, because we're building language competency here, this oral language, this oral expression, so that when they have the transcription skills, they'll be able to put it down on paper, and you may just not have time. So let me show you. I'm going to stop sharing. We'll come back to the PowerPoint in a little bit. Okay, so first step was show the picture. So let's pretend we've been reading this book, Jetty Jumping, about children who are jumping off a jetty. When we get to this page, and this is a bit of a key part of the story, and you really want to focus on the characters and how they're feeling. And so it says, jump, her friends yelled, jump. Mila does not jump. And so you're just going to show this picture. You've already read this story. You've done a whole bunch of stuff. If you've done my writing success teach along, you know all of those other things that you've done before this point. And so you'll say to the students, oh, I can see that Mila, so now we're doing our think aloud, I can see that Mila's sitting on the end of the jetty. All the other children are in the water. They look like they're having such a good time, but I don't know that Mila's having a great time here. And I'll kind of, because I will have planned this in advance, we are not winging it, just like transcription, no winging. I will know that I really want to reinforce the way that Mila is feeling. I want to include the word because we've been working on our sentences that contain because. And so I'll say, Mila's sitting there. I think she might be feeling a little bit afraid. I'm not sure. And now it's time for them to talk with their partner. So you've got this displayed, and you say, boys and girls, class, talk with your partner. Why do you think, because we want to use because, so we're going to have our sentence have why. I wonder why do you think Mila isn't jumping in with the other children? You can, and at this point, you can either give them no other guidance and they go ahead and do it, or you can give them a sentence starter. Mila is not jumping because, and if you're going to give them that sentence starter, and there's times when that's absolutely appropriate, Mila is not jumping because, and they say, Mila is not jumping because, and then it's your turn. Mila is not jumping because. Now talk to your partner, and you're encouraging the students then to talk in whole sentences and give their thoughts using a whole sentence. This pays massive dividends in their writing for children who are only writing fragments, or, they just can't start a sentence, or they can't finish one, or whatever. So you'll have the students talking with their partner. And while they're doing this, you're circulating. You're going to go straight to your students who struggle the most, and you're going to be listening in, because for this next part, the next step is to call on those non-volunteers. So either you're going to choose a child who struggles, who they've actually participated, and you're really excited and you want to affirm them, or you will have heard a fantastic response and you'd like that to be a model for the rest of the class. Whatever your reasoning is, it'll change day to day. This is where all your teaching experience comes in. And if you're a graduate teacher, you're like, but I don't have any teaching experience. Don't worry, it'll come. You won't break the kids, I promise. So you listen to them and then you bring them back together. And then you say, Johnny, can you tell me about why you think Mila wasn't jumping? Well, Mila didn't jump because she was scared. Oh, you're right. Mila, I think, might have been scared. Yes. And then you'll ask someone else, tell me about what you talked with your partner about. And they might say, oh, Mila didn't jump in the water with her friends because she was afraid. So now we've got a bit of an extended sentence here. And so you'll take the ideas from the children and you'll put them together in a sentence, incorporating their ideas. And this is what joint construction is for. It's for taking those partial responses from the students and forming them into a complete response. And so you will come up with a sentence like, Mila didn't jump with her friends because she was, now I'm thinking about the phonics here, afraid. So let's pretend that I'm teaching you one and I've been teaching the AI. So I'm just going to get that in there as well, because she was afraid. So what a great sentence, everybody. And you'll say to the students, Mila didn't jump with her friends because she was afraid. And you have them say it. And backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, just like the transcription. Mila didn't jump with her friends because she was afraid. And now it's their turn. Now, that backwards and forwards is really important because children who struggle with working memory will struggle with this task. This teaches them that technique of rehearsal. And so you can say, we're going to do it lots of times so that you've got it stuck in your head. Mila didn't jump with her friends because she was afraid. And then I'm going to change cameras now because we're going to move to the next bit, which is where you do that joint construction writing. So, boys and girls, what was our first word? And they say Mila. And you say, okay, something to watch out here for, everyone. Mila's name, let's sound it out together. M-I-L-A. Mila. And you might reinforce, oh, there's a double L. So we have to remember that. Mila, next word, didn't. Oh, didn't is a contraction. So it's the opportunity for you to either introduce new concepts gently or reinforce things you've taught before. Class, we've been learning about contractions, and didn't is a contraction. So when I want to write didn't, sound out did for me. That's the base here. Sound out did, and the students all sound out with their fingers d, I, d, or however you do it in your class. You just do it the same way. D, I, d, and now we've got the did not, didn't, and the apostrophe tells me there's a missing letter. Let's read it. Mila didn't. The next word is jump. Okay, sound out, boys and girls. J, A, M, P. 4 sounds. Jump. Do it for me again. And they all say J, A, M, P. With her friends. Let's sound out with. And so you'll do the sounding out with the class. I'm just doing it a little bit quickly for the sake of time. Let's read. Mila didn't jump with her. Let's sound out her. Now, traditionally, we might have taught her as a sight word, but if you've taught the ER, well, that's just now a vowel digraph. Didn't jump with her friends. Oh, this can be a bit of a tricky word, everybody, with her friends. Let's sound it out. Oh, I've run out of fingers. There's one. With her friends. So the base word is friend. It's more than one friend, but let's have a look. And friend. Isn't that strange? It's the I and the E. Now, you're not going to teach I and E as just in a phonics lesson. This is just one of those words that comes up that they need to learn. There's lots of mnemonics, your fry, your ends, however you want to help children remember the spelling, just go for it. But you really want to point it out and show that IE in the middle of friends. And then we've got our plural, more than one, so we're going to add our S so we can bring in that little bit of morphology there as well. Let's read, boys and girls. Mila didn't jump with her friends because, now we've got 2 syllables, so we're going to help the children see that they can sound out a multi-syllable word. So we're going to chop because, cause. It's a bit hard on this camera. But we all know that word be. That's a regular high frequency word. Now cause, let's sound it out. K or Z, 3 sounds. Let's see. K or Z. And we've got 2 digraphs there. So we're showing the children and reinforcing the orthographic or the phonics patterns, the spelling patterns in the words, and linking the morphology where we can, like with the S here. Let's read. Mila didn't jump with her friends because she was scared. So you'll write she and then the was. Now, depending on how old the children are and how familiar they are with these words, will tell you how much time you're going to spend on it. If they've written was 500 times before and they know what it was, you just say to them, oh, how do I spell was? Oh, very good. Now, wasn't scared. Afraid was our word, wasn't it? And so afraid. Look, we've got 2 more syllables there. Afraid. There are so many words that have an A at the start with the sound. You'll be surprised how many there are. Afraid. And it could be here where you reinforce afraid. A. I need an A here. What kind of A do I use in the middle of a word? Yes, well, we've been learning AI, haven't we? So you can think about those spelling choices. You can say, well, if the A was at the end, I might use an AY, but it's in the middle of the word, so I think I'll use an AI. Does that look right? And your full stop. Then you'll have the students read it. Mila didn't jump with her friends because she was afraid. So many concepts can now be revised and reviewed within this lesson, as well as the comprehension aspects of the story that you've been reading. Now, if you're going to send the children off for them to write the sentence themselves, it's a good idea to be really specific about what you're looking for. What are your priorities in terms of what are they going to get right? Expecting every child to get every aspect of everything right all the time might be unrealistic, depending on how complex your sentence is. So you'll say things like, I am really looking for you to have used a capital letter and a full stop. I'm really looking to see who can remember that AI in afraid, because then that links to the phonics that you've been teaching. And so it's a formative assessment opportunity, I guess. And you might also say, we've been learning about contractions. So I'm really looking to see who gets this N''T on the end of didn't. There are 4 things we're looking for: capital letter, full stop, the A in afraid, and that contraction N'', or the N''T. If they don't quite get friends right, that's okay. They can fix it later. If they don't quite get because, it's not the end of the world. So try not to have too many goals for the students. I'll just switch my camera back. There we are. Try not to have too many goals for them if you're going to have them write it. And you could even simplify that. So to differentiate it, I'm jumping ahead to to our wrap-up session. But if you had students who couldn't write that whole thing, you could just say either Mila was afraid or she was afraid or something like that. And you could have your high-flying students write you another sentence or extend that sentence and tell about what she was afraid of. So lots of things can be done with that. But this one is really where you're teaching those language-related concepts and really affirming that. And as you're able to reinforce phonics and other things, you can do so. Transcription is for getting your sentences on the page. The daily shared writing is about expressive language development. I hope that is clear. Now we'll just go back to our PowerPoint. Okay, how do we keep it simple? Keep your sentence a manageable length, and only you know what a manageable length is for your students. For your students, it could be 3 words. Absolutely great. You're finding out where the students are up to and meeting them there. Use predictable, repeated routines that children are familiar with. So there's a lot of crossover between this routine and the sentence transcription, and that's done on purpose. So there are fewer things they have to remember how to do. I've already said, know that it's okay for the students not to write the sentence themselves. It's about vocabulary and idea generation. And while you might use this routine in other subjects, be mindful to wait until the students have a working knowledge of content before doing so. Where to from here? Hey, because we're going to use repeatable, predictable routines, download the reflection and planning sheet, take those 5 minutes to fill it in. Submit any questions you have through the question worksheet under the video. Keep the questions coming. I can't say it enough. Remember to register for that live wrap-up session where we talk even more about differentiation, what it is, how to do it, what it might look like. And if you're a past Reading Success Teach Along participant, Module 2, Lesson 4 reinforces for you what we've done here today. Check your email again. It's the last clip about the literacy block tomorrow, clip number 5, and we're going to talk about how to use picture books to expand that language and literature-based work. Well, that is it. I look forward to seeing you in the last clip tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye.